Hi, this is DJ Penance and this is part 3 of my tractor tips, tricks, techniques, tutorials and it's laptop scratching and cue points.
Advice to the young.
If your son or your daughter, if they inform you that he wants to be a great artist, a great musician, I was going to say a great politician. There may be something in that. He may try that if he likes. But if he wants to be a great artist and so on, do your utmost to prevent him. Don't let it. If you tell him that his business in life, if he wants to be prosperous and well spoken of and all that, let him be a shopkeeper or a stockbroker. That is the way for them to be prosperous and happy, and instead of being great people, to have the great fun of celebrating great people, admiring them, reading their books and looking at their pictures and listening to their music and all that.
All the time.
Okay, so let's get back on with the tutorial side of this thing. That was just a bit of fun from the fantastic Cybeg there. So, what we're going to talk about today is to how to get a little bit more fine-tuning of the control when you're trying to do scratch techniques using your laptop trackpad. And we're also going to delve a little bit more into cue points and how you can use them to spice up your set. So, onto the scratching. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is something that we missed out last time, and that's key control, or key lock, sorry. Basically, it's something that most people use all the time when they're using Traktor. It's one of the advantages. It means that when you're manually beat matching and you're doing the odd nudge, or things aren't written at exactly the same tempo, that they stay in key when you're trying to mix them together. And that's great, especially on digital vinyl systems. It means you can make tiny adjustments and touch the platter without making a little ripple in the pitch, if you like, but that does have its drawbacks, especially with scratching. So I'm going to switch it onto digital vinyl mode now because it's a little bit easier for me to get more variance on the sounds. So this is with the key lock on, and I'm going to do some pretty fast scratching and then some slow scratching. Well, not scratching, just moving the vinyl. So as you can see, there's nothing wrong with the sound there at all, but it is a little bit monotone. It's almost as if my arm is a perfect machine. It's always moving at exactly the same speed, and real life scratching isn't like that. So if you take the key lock off, you can see already that there's a lot more dimension to the sounds that you're actually getting out of the scratch there. So it's a good way of spicing it up as well. If you start to think, oh well, yeah, I've got the hang of this now and it's sounding exactly the same, take the key lock off, do things a little bit slower, and you'll get some different sounds out of it. But always remember to put it back on if that's the way that you're used to mixing, otherwise it's going to make a mess of your sets, which is one of the advantages of learning to DJ on vinyl. You are limited to what you can do, and you learn how to pick records that are going to sound together even when they're not at normal pitch. So onto cue points now, really. I think I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of an idea of how I structure my cue points. So I'm just going to bring up a remix that I'm working on at the moment, and I'm going to use this purely because there aren't any big massive beats in it. So I'm going to use some cue points that I've already set up to try and throw in a bit of extra drum pattern, along with a couple of effects a little bit later on. But first, actually, I'm going to stick a little bit more on the scratching. Last time I did introduce the concept of using an infinity symbol or a little figure of 8 side-by-side motion to control. Now, what I didn't explain is what I'm actually doing with my finger on the trackpad. Unfortunately, I don't have a HD video camera, so I can't show you this. But if you put your finger in the center of the pad and then you kind of roll the tip around rather than actually moving your finger, see, you can get a really good accurate technique without you losing your center point as much then. And then you can just practice a little bit to make little tiny adjustments. I need to take it off scratch mode there, and I suggest you spend a good half an hour a day, maybe just for a week, till you get the hang of your particular trackpad and how responsive it is. And you can even change those settings, I'm sure, somewhere in Windows if you find that your fingers flying all over the place far too easily. So another few things regarding scratching on here. What you can actually do as well is introduce little stutters by clicking your mouse when it's actually on the waveform, and then by hitting cue points quite quickly you can kind of get a bit more accurate effect. So I'm going to put the mic down now and show you that.
My father was an expert. My father was an expert, and when I was in my mother's womb, I was ready to fight.
So you get the idea there. Unfortunately, it's not something I do myself, as I do use digital vinyl system, but with a bit of experimentation, you can work that into a routine and get it sounding kind of nice and tight. So anyway, back onto the cue points a little bit more now. So I'm going to set this playing on the left-hand deck and just talk you through the cue points as we speak. So what I've done, I've set up basically on the right hand, well, on this track, cue points. So I've got an intro at the beginning on the letter Q, and I've got a beat on W, I've got a snare or a rim shot, sorry, on E, and then I've got a snare or a rim shot with effects on set on 4. So these are drum patterns. And then on the other side, sorry, not on the other side, using the other 4 cue points on the other side here, then you can use those if you press the shift button and then Q. That's going to bring you to cue points 5, 6, 7 and 8 respectively. So on those I've put more musical sounds and vocals.
There's a limit to your love. Like a map with no there's a limit to your love, your love, your love. There's a limit to your care. So carelessly there. Is it truth or dare? There's a limit to your care. There's a limit to your love. Like a waterfall in snow. Like a map with no ocean. There's a limit to your love, your love, your love. There's a limit to your care. So carelessly there. Is it truth or dare? so carelessly there. There's a limit to your care.
And there we have it. So yeah, if you get used to using the cue points, as I say, kick drum, snare, and a little bit of something extra, it's very easy to pick out a hip hop pattern or a drum and bass pattern just out of those three sounds really. So hip hop will generally be or again you can go for a bit more of the dubstep kind of feel as well. It's like and if you put the effects on as well, then you can just use tiny little bits. And there you have it really. So I think that'll be enough for this one. Just try and remember, get as much control as you can with your little mouse trackpad, using as little finger movements as possible, and that'll enable you to have good accurate control, and use your cue points creatively to spice up your sets. I hope this has been useful to at least one person. I'll be coming up with some more tutorials soon on some more advanced effects, or if you want to leave any comments on anything that you want to know how to do, just give me a shout and I'll see if I can work it out for you and put it up here. So again, thanks to the Digital DJ Tips website for inspiring me to do this, and this is DJ Penance. I'll catch you later.
There's a limit to your love. Like a waterfall in slow. Like a map with no ocean. There's a limit to your love. There's a limit to your love. Like a waterfall in slow. Like a waterfall in slow. Going out with nothing. Like a map with no there's a limit to your love. There's a limit to your love. Your love, your love.